Thank you for the chill in the air, the warmth of the sun, and for carrying us through this season. We are thankful for our health and the almost 1.5 million vaccinations of Georgia residents. Tonight we pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council and the agenda set before them. Please grant them confidence in their knowledge of what would please you and what would benefit those who choose to make Milton their home. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City for Wednesday, February 6, 2021 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully, and if you wish to talk or speak on any item on the agenda, then please bring your comment card to the city clerk as soon as possible. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the February 17th, 2021 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on the item. Your comment card must be presented to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. All speakers, please identify yourself by name, address, and organization before beginning your comment. If you are representing an organization, an affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Please review tonight's agenda, and if you would like to make a comment, please bring your comment card to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Councilmember Laura Bentley. Here. Councilmember Paul Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Rick Morrig.
Here.
Mayor LaJoe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Carol Cookerly.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Longoria.
Here.
And for the record, Councilmember Peyton Jameson is absent for tonight's meeting. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. We appreciate you being here. And I'm going to ask the clerk to call the next item.
That item is approval of a meeting agenda item 21029.
Okay, on the agenda, I want to recommend that we remove on the consent agenda item number 21-043 for the Uniquely Fit program. And also move the new business agenda item number 21-050, the appointment of a Parks and Recreation Board member to after the reading and vote on the consent agenda. Is there any other changes on the agenda? Okay, I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as provided with the additional edits that you just mentioned. Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Longoria with the second from Councilmember Morrig. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do not have any, Mayor.
Okay, then I'm not going to read the general public comment rules. So we'll move on to our consent agenda. If the city clerk will please sound those items.
The first item is approval of the January 20th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes, agenda item number 21030. Our next item is approval of the February 1st, 2021 City Council meeting minutes, agenda item number 21031. Our third item is approval of the financial statements and investment report for the period ending December 2020, agenda item number 21032. Our fourth item is approval of a construction services agreement with Pavement Technology, Inc. for asphalt rejuvenation of applications on Milton streets, agenda item number 21033. Our fifth item, approval of a vehicle maintenance and repairs agreement between the City of Milton and North Fulton Express Oil, LLC, doing business as Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers, agenda item number 21034. Our next item, approval of a vehicle maintenance and repairs agreement between the City of Milton and Extra Mile Auto Tire and Services, LLC. Agenda item number 21035. Our seventh item, approval of a vehicle maintenance and repairs agreement between the City of Milton and Speed Auto Repair, LLC. Agenda item number 21036. Our next item is approval of a construction services agreement with Kings Ridge Christian School for Cogburn Road Sidewalk. Agenda item number 21037. Our ninth item, approval of a subdivision plats and revision. The name of the development is Aldi, the Shops of Windward Village at 12990 Alpharetta Highway. Land lots 1041, 1042, 1047, and 1048. District 2, Section 2. It is a recombination plat to revise expanded footprint of the Aldi grocery store. Total acres is 3.657. Agenda item number 21038. Our 10th item is approval of agreement for outside providers and facility use agreement between the City of Milton and Halftime Sports, LLC, to provide youth basketball programming and camps. Agenda item number 21039. Our 11th item is approval of an agreement for outside providers and facility use agreement between the City of Milton and Milton Tennis Center to provide youth and adult tennis programming and camps. Agenda item number 21040. Our 12th item, approval of an agreement for outside providers and facility use agreement between the City of Milton and North Georgia Recreation, Inc. to provide youth boys lacrosse. Agenda item number 21041. The next item is approval of an agreement for outside providers and facility use agreement between the City of Milton and Rush Union, Inc. to provide adult soccer programming. Agenda item number 21042. Our next item is approval of an agreement for outside providers and facility use agreement between the City of Milton and Star Petronella Photography, LLC, doing business as Capture Your Light to provide recreation photography classes. I will note this is also going to be a new DBA. They've just changed it to let us know that it will be Your Photo Creative. It is agenda item number 21044.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the items?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Tammy. Okay, if the city clerk will please call the next item. And I believe we moved an item to that.
We did, Mayor. This is a new business item that we moved. It is consideration of a resolution appointing or reappointing members to the City of Milton's Park and Recreation Advisory Board by appointing a board member at large. Agenda item number 21050, Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Okay, let's see. Give me just 1 second here. What is this? I didn't change my paperwork, so. You guys will bear with me for a second. Okay, sorry, moved it on the agenda here. This appointment for the Parks and Recreation Board member is, it would be for my appointee, and I would like to appoint Miss Jamie Tucker. I don't believe she is in, in the room. Okay, good. To the Parks and Recreation Board. I know Jamie has moved here to Milton, has children, and has expressed interest to be involved, and we've had some nice discussions and whatnot, so I am proud to nominate, to appoint Jamie for my representative on our Parks and Recreation Board. So if I could get a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve your appointee to the Parks and Recreation Board.
Second.
Okay, all right, so I have a motion to appoint Jamie Tucker to Parks and Recreation Board for my appointee from Councilmember Moore with a second from Councilmember Cookerly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. So I think at this point, I would ask Jamie to come forward, and I will swear her in real quick. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear and affirm
I do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully perform the duties of
that I will faithfully perform the duties of
Parks and Recreation Advisory Board
Parks and Recreation Advisory Board,
member,
member of the city,
and I will
support and defend the Charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution
as well as the Constitution
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and of the United States of America.
and of the United States of America.
I'll give you a fair shake.
Fair
but-
shake.
For obvious reasons, but I just want to thank you, not only Jamie, but everybody that volunteers. And, you know, a lot of times people will talk about the city, and the reason our city is so great is because of all of our volunteers and people that really care and want to make a difference. So thank you for doing that.
Right there.
Oh, right here. So, Jim, if you want to sign
Sure.
with your name, and then I'll sign it. There are two things that bring out more people and more, let's call it, discussion in the city of Milton, and that is zoning issues and youth sports. So, this is very important.
Oh, and this one too.
So we appreciate it immensely. Everyone, your home cell or your cell number. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Do we want to take a picture with council? Yeah, so do you want to, council want to come down here, or we can stay up here?
You can stay up there. That's fine. Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Oh, that's perfect. That's good. And everyone is in the frame. This is great. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say.
All right, if I could ask the city clerk to please call the next item.
The next item is proclamation recognizing Arbor Day 2021, agenda item number 21045.
Okay. It's always an honor to present this proclamation. I think trees, as we all know, are very important to our city and to all of our citizens. So I have a proclamation for Arbor Day 2021. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Milton has been recognized as a Tree City USA community each year since 2009. And whereas the city of Milton and our citizens are committed to the stewardship of our natural resources, Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Milton, hereby recognize and proclaim for the year 2021, February 19th, as Arbor Day, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands to make Milton an even greater place to live, work, and raise a family. And furthermore, we urge all citizens to plant trees to promote the well-being of future generations. And this is given under my hand and the seal of City of Milton, Georgia, on the, what's today, the 17th day of February 2021. So, and it's the 17th, so make sure. So, I know Sandra's here. Is there anybody else here with Arbor Day or Teresa's here? So, yeah, if you guys want to come forward, do I have the proclamation? Tammy's got it. Absolutely. No, I guess I'll give you the.
No, we're all
there's a
smiling.
presentation. We're all smiling, I promise. Thank you guys for everything you do. So appreciate it. Okay, if I can ask the clerk to please call the next item.
The next item is discussion of breweries and distilleries in Crabapple and Deerfield. Agenda item number 21046, Economic Development Manager, Ms. Sarah Ladart.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we are seeking direction on our recommendation to add breweries, microbreweries, distilleries, and microdistilleries as uses in certain zones of the Crabapple and Deerfield form-based codes. We currently permit light manufacturing, which includes these uses, by warrant in T5 in Crabapple. As Milton has grown and developed, we have been presented with the opportunity to expand these uses beyond T5 in Crabapple and have 2 microbreweries actively looking. I have worked with the Community Development Department on how to allow these uses in Milton while ensuring proper oversight and not creating undue hardship on these new businesses. Tonight we are looking for feedback on these options. A, does council want to maintain and only allow these uses in T5 by warrant in Crabapple? Or B, does council want to expand on this opportunity? And then if the answer is to expand, there are 2 follow-up questions. What zones do we want to include, and do we want to include the entire zone? And 2, how do we want to permit these uses? By right, by warrant, or by use permit? As I stated in Crabapple, we currently permit light manufacturing by warrant in T5, which is kind of the orangey color on this map, which includes all 4 of these uses, and we recommend adding the specific language that permits these as uses.
Do we have the map? Is it on the screen?
Yeah, it's coming up. It was on there. It's coming up. Okay.
It wasn't on ours. It was you.
I was feeling like the emperor that has no Philadelphia story, you know, looking around. Does anybody else not seeing what
When I pointed at it, y'all didn't see where I pointed? Sorry. So where light manufacturing is currently allowed is in that yellowy orange T5 section. And we are recommending adding specific language that permits all of these uses by warrant in the T4 open and T5 sections of Crabapple. So at this point, what is the feedback on adding those? And if yes, by what use?
Is it Paul?
Just, a couple questions. I don't know who's back, but with the applications that or the theoretical applications you have, or hypothetical applications you have before you, are either of those outside of the current T5 area?
Yes, sir.
they are. So would it require, because of that particular application, that we explore the expansion?
So one of them, they're looking to compromise and put the microbrewery in the T5, with the T4 being more of the tap room type situation. The other one is looking, and it would be completely in T4 open.
Okay. I'll have more questions, but that's sufficient for now. Thank you.
Yep.
So Sarah, was there a specific, well, you might not know the answer to this question, but why did we eliminate, or why did we not include T4 when we originally set this up? Why just T5?
So that was an oversight on my part. I thought that we included this where qualified, all uses licensed or permitted. I didn't realize that part of the qualification would be the allowance of manufacturing.
Right.
So then when we came back, the original form-based code of crabapple only permitted light industrial by warrant in T5.
Okay. Because I would agree, it doesn't make sense to me why we would exclude T4 from that use as well. I do have some Oh, it's my phone. Yeah, no, sorry. Intensity of use. When we talk about a microbrewery and a microdistillery, a brewery and a distillery, and I don't even know if the term brew pub is in our dictionary, and it's just not included here because it's covered under some other component.
It's covered, yes.
Okay. So what is the big difference between those two, and is intensity of use, is there one that really is better suited for one area or the other, or do they all really need to be included in both T-zones 4 and 5?
So that is why I sectioned them out, so you could choose. But if you look at this picture from the first slide, the top one is Old Fourth Distillery down in Old Fourth Ward in Atlanta. It produces about 20,000 barrels, and they started in about 1,200 square feet. And they've now grown to about 20,000 square feet. But at our code identifies a microbrewery at 15,000 barrels or less.
Per year?
Per year.
Okay.
Yes. But on the same token, a brewery like Sweetwater Brewery at 500,000 barrels a year, they're on 8 acres. So when we think about the development and redevelopment of Deerfield, that would be, and Burnett hates when I say cool, but that would be a really cool thing for us to have in Deerfield. And we would have the land for it. So it would be disappointing to have that excluded as a possibility for a full-blown brewery.
I think it's a good idea to open that up.
Would it be safe to say, too, just the realities of development, like you said, Deerfield? For example, a microbrewery, and for lack of better terms, really they're almost just an accessory type restaurant. I mean, it's not like it's it's part of the experience or whatever.
Right.
But a brewery itself could grow into something. But the reality is, the areas that are the T4 open and the T5 in Crabapple, there's really no way a large distiller or a brewery could, there's not the land.
Correct.
But again, if there were an open area and whatnot in the T5 or the T4, which is commercial anyways, or mostly commercial or high density.
Correct.
So I certainly am interested in this too. I don't think, this is infringing on, and when we get out to more residential areas and whatnot, having an issue with that.
So the reason that we went with the warrant access as opposed to the by right?
So the reason we recommended that is because it's currently a very similar intention is allowed by right in Crabapple, or by warrant in Crabapple.
Okay.
But we're open
But when
to
we
it.
put this together, there was a reason we decided by warrant made the most sense, because by right, they wouldn't have needed any kind of permit. They would have just needed to occupy the space.
Correct.
And so by warrant, you're saying, well, hold it, there's something about the intensity of use that we deserve to be notified that it's going to take place.
Correct. So as a warrant is processed the same way as an administrative variance,
Right.
and must satisfy the 10 considerations stated in Section 64-1552. The warrant process ensures the professional oversight of the community development director and gives he or she the responsibility to determine if the use and land is appropriate.
Right, so it doesn't have to come before the council for approval. It's something that's, like you said, administrative, but
Yes.
it's recognizing that it's maybe a little outside the ordinary.
Correct.
Okay.
I want to follow up on what Joe was talking about with intensity of use. That was one of the things that was a concern for me too, and that is when we're trying to create a live, work, play environment, and Crabapple is the best example of that right now. What I would want, if it's going to be by warrant and it's administrative variance, which is done by the Director of Community Development, that individual, in this case Bob, would have to have the oversight to say, what is the intensity of that use when it comes to hours of operation, kinds of deliveries? If it's going to be at a certain level of production, is it, one truck a week right now because it's new versus 7 to 10 trucks a week and they come at 2 o'clock in the morning? All of a sudden we're infringing on the live, work, play environment where you've got a residential component to our hopefully successful total experience in Crabapple. So I just ask you to comment on that, I guess, first.
So I have a slide. I thought that might come up. So these are the conditions that have to be presented to the Community Development Director for consideration, and they include traffic flow, parking, the location, the hours and manners of operation, the outdoor lighting, and the ingress and egress of the property. So all of these things have to be presented to the Community Development Director.
Yeah, I think about there was a constituent that used to call me on a regular basis prior to her leaving her Crabapple homestead, and it had to do with a delivery of beer to a restaurant. And the truck used to come at the crack of dawn and idle on the street just outside her home. And it was immensely interruptive to her, to her lifestyle, because it was way early, and the gentleman had the right to be there, but it was an infringement on the quality of life that she had been accustomed to prior to that particular delivery being scheduled. I just want to make sure that we give that consideration. And the only other thing that I would propose as a consideration is, in the fact that this is an alcohol production, I don't want to lose the oversight that the council has when it comes to alcohol placement and its role in creating an environment in our city. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So when they apply for the manufacturing license, all the alcohol permits, all of those types of licenses, those do still come before council.
They do, without
Yes.
it just being granted by warrant.
Correct.
Or by.
Right.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And I would say if there were delivery hours, that would be something that we could communicate to the Community Development Director to take into consideration when talking about issuing one of these warrants.
In the issuing of those alcohol licenses, they would have to be compliant with our current
Yes.
list of requirements today anyway, right?
Well, one of the things that came up was what happens if a distillery decides to go into a market district. The state doesn't allow retail liquor sales that close to a school. So that wouldn't be allowed per state guidelines. So that would not be an issue. A brewery or a microbrewery, yes, because that's beer and wine, or beer. But a distillery wouldn't be allowed there because of state law.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else right now?
So is that the direction to move forward? And are there any specific zones that council does or does not want to see it in, or that would like to see limitations on the map? So this is the Deerfield map, and we're proposing allowing it by warrant in the purple, orange, and blue zones.
Is it safe to say, and I know we're talking about both Deerfield and Crabapple, that everywhere proposing to add it, basically in the T4 open areas, that that would be an appropriate and approved restaurant?
Yes,
a restaurant
sir.
could go in one of those areas right now as currently zoned?
I have another slide for that. So right now, in all of the zones that we're proposing in both Crabapple and Deerfield, hotels, restaurants, dry cleaners, and gymnasiums are allowed by right, and warrants are the liquor retail establishments, conference centers, and gas stations.
So Sarah, just to confirm, this is your list: T4 open, T5, and T6.
Yes, in Deerfield, and then Crabapple, the T4 open, and T5.
Right. Okay.
Go back to the 3D slide that showed Deerfield.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah, when you get to the north end of the T5 up near Cambridge High School, obviously there would be probably restrictions there too, correct?
For a distillery, yes.
Yeah.
That's liquor retail. Yes.
Who wouldn't want beer production right across the street from the high school, right? I'm kidding.
Oh, kids are different nowadays than when you were in high school.
You're right. It was legal when I was in high school.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think it makes sense to do that. I think that it was probably our intention to do it originally. It was an oversight that it wasn't. I think by warrant makes sense. The control of the alcohol licensing itself still comes under our jurisdiction in terms of the council. So I think those all make perfect sense.
Okay, thank you.
I think what I'm hearing, based on the comments I've heard, that the council would want to go forward with that, unless, is there anybody else that maybe feels differently? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Moving forward, this will hopefully be back in front of council for approval in June. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our first presentation, and Tammy, if you'll please sound the first item.
That item is consideration of RZ 21-001, VC 21-01-13085 Morris Road to rezone Form T5 Limited Deerfield Form-Based Code to AL Apartments Limited by WRPVXIV Deerfield Village Milton LLC to correct a legal nonconformity with regard to density of a multifamily project that was built in 2001. No changes to the existing development are proposed. Total of 554 units at a density of 18.43 units per acre on 30.05 acres and a two-part concurrent variance to allow existing tennis courts, fencing, and existing swimming pool and fencing as shown on site plan. Section 64-1602 V2 and Section 64-1609 B3. Agenda item number 21047. The next item is consideration of text amendments RZ 21-02, Section 64-2, definitions as it relates to driveways and large lot incentives. Agenda item number 21048. Item is consideration of text amendments to Chapter 50 of the City Code subdivisions as it relates to modified driveways and large lot incentives. Agenda item number 21049.
Excuse me. Have a motion on the first presentation item?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the first presentation as read.
Okay, thanks. I have a motion from Councilmember Moore with a second from Councilmember Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, we don't have any items under public hearing or zoning agenda, so I'll ask the city clerk to sound the first unfinished business item.
And that item is consideration of resolution and ordinance amending Section 3.22 B10 powers and duties of the mayor and Section 7.18 Charter Commission of the Charter for the City of Milton, Georgia. Agenda item number 21026.
Number 2. We need to do number 1, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. I thought that was the item that we moved, so I went down. My apologies. Bear with me. I do. Let me back up. That first item under unfinished business is consideration of an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, to amend Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 11, and Article 8, Division 4 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Milton, Georgia, to align the sections with regards to conducting business with city employees and officials. Agenda item number 21024. Mr. Ken Ward.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Council, thank you very much. This evening, I'll go over this. This was the product of a first presentation at your last regular meeting. It's actually a modification of 2 ordinances. Think of them as your purchasing policies and then your ethics code. Now, obviously, with respect to the ethical propriety. I know for a fact the city of Milton wants to do everything on the conservative side. And lately, with respect to a couple of recent events, we were reviewing this language in both the purchasing section, that is the guidelines about how the city purchases services and goods, and then comparing that to the ethical code, and found that there were some inconsistencies, or at least some areas where they needed to be harmonized better. And so the task was given to me to look at the legal aspects of this. I worked on it with staff, and we had made a judgment call, and the judgment call was if we were going to tighten it up, let's tighten it up in a way that is more conservative than it is now on the right side of ethical propriety. So that's what we're doing this evening, simply trying to harmonize two code provisions and, in the meantime, move them even a little further on the better side of being appropriate and transparent. So that's what we're doing. So the first section pertains to, if you look in your in the ordinance attached to the agenda packet, you'll see section 1, and then down you'll see two subparagraphs 1 and 2. This pertains to the ability of the city of Milton to actually acquire or make purchases with members of its staff or officials. And so there's language there that will actually allow that to occur with the approval of the council. That's great. That's transparent. I recommend it to be taken away. I would recommend that even with the approval of council, you're not going to be engaging or transacting business with city officials or city staff. And so that's why you see a line through that. And that's my recommendation for you. I think that is the most conservative approach. Now, so that's the only change with respect to purchasing. Now I'll go to ethics. And again, that's in section 2. That's pertaining to your ethics code. And if you'll turn the page with me, because if your book's like mine, it's on the second page where you get the changes. This, too, provide some language with respect to engaging in business transactions with officials or city employees. So I'll read from B. The city of Milton shall not enter into any contract involving services or property with the city official or employee, or with a business entity in which the city official or employee has an interest. Very nice, succinct, consistent with state law. I like it. Provided that the disclosure and abstention provisions set forth here are followed, that paragraph, that prohibition, doesn't apply to the following. And then it goes through a series of different, tremendously unlikely exceptions that will invariably never occur in the history of Milton. And I'm okay with those staying in, talking about doing business with banks and trade institutions and these large organizations. But then it says, in 4, contracts for services entered into the business, which is the only available source for such goods or services. So basically a sole source. If there is a city employee that is the only source of the good or service, this provision under your ethics code would allow that to occur. I don't like that either. And so I'm recommending we take that out, at least with respect to goods. I don't want there to be any situation where the city of Milton is acquiring either something that is in the nature of personal property or real property from a city official or city employee. Services, I can get there because that would be consistent with state law. There might be a situation where a service would be okay if it's a sole source, but not a good. So that's why I've taken that out as well. And then I stricken number 5, or my recommendation is to strike 5 in its entirety, which is basically we can throw all these rules out if it's an emergency. I don't want that out of I think that needs to be removed. That is my recommendation. That's what this does. Harmonizes the purchasing and ethical rules such that they fit nicely together and moves them a step even further toward ethical propriety. Mayor?
Any questions? I think, I just had a question that, thought, and I think it's covered in the exceptions or list of things. For example, if and I know this is way out there, but let's say an employee or a council member had a family member that was the manager or worked for, let's say, Walmart or Home Depot, and Home Depot was the best place for the city to buy certain materials. I think that's so far removed that I think.
Right. No, that's a fair question, and that question does come up. But the good news is that governments, have the ability to engage in those large corporations, even if there happens to be a family member that works there. What the ethics rules are concerned about is if there is some sort of a direct financial reimbursement to the individual, the city employee, or their spouse, or their relative. At Walmart or Home Depot, their paycheck is the same, irrespective of the fact that there has to be procurement by the city of Milton. So it doesn't affect them financially. So the ethics rules aren't really concerned about that.
I'm a little bit interested in why we leave services in there. I can certainly understand a part-time employee for the city might have time that they can devote to providing services that fall outside of their employment agreement with the city.
Sure.
And so there is a potential that they could be both a city employee and have the ability to offer services that we could purchase. I'm a little bit concerned with why we just don't block that out, because that seems to be an extreme exception. And what I would say, as a matter of example, if I were a part-time city employee and I had a cybersecurity business as well, and the city was somehow impacted and in need of cybersecurity services, why would I even be considered for that? Because there's some real challenges there.
The only reason that I did not strike it all together was because it was for situations where it was the only source of the procurement. But I will tell you, Councilmember Longoria, I was taking a scalpel, not a bush hog, to it. But if the council wants to strike services as well, effectively striking that entire sub 4, you're not going to hear any pushback from me. I was simply trying to do everything I could to take what needed to be taken off to make sure we were completely consistent with state law.
We've always done such a good job of protecting ourselves at even the appearance of conflict that I would hate to think that we, as we're being surgical, we just miss out.
No, and again, you're not going to hear any concern from me. I don't want to speak with the city manager, but it's not going to cause me any legal concern if you strike that all together.
I would be in favor of taking that piece out.
It's one word, and I can fully agree with it.
Other thoughts on that or comments? I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve agenda item number 21-024 with the edit to strike out services from item 4. I think that was section 8.
That's right, and that's a perfectly in order motion. I will tell you the practical effect of that, if it is seconded, will be that entire subparagraph will be removed.
Yeah. So what's on the paper as being bullet number 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion for approval, but removing item number 4.
Removing item number 4.
For discussion with Ken, and a second from Councilmember Cookley. So motion from Councilmember Longoria as amended with a second from Councilmember Cookley. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. If our city clerk could please call the next item.
That next item is consideration of a resolution and an ordinance amending Section 3.22 B10, Powers and Duties of the Mayor, and Section 7.18, Charter Commission of the Charter for the City of Milton, Georgia. Agenda item number 21-026. Mr. Ken Gerard.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much. This is an item you have seen before because we did in fact look at it and voted on it at the last regular meeting. This is a home rule modification to the city's charter. The purposes of this home rule modification are fairly modest. Cities, municipalities, just like counties in Georgia, have the statutory authority to modify their own enabling legislation, and for municipalities that's called your charter. And once again, the changes here are fairly minor in content. You're basically changing by way of home rule two provisions of your charter, Section 3.22 and Section 7.18. And what the statute allowing home rule charter modifications anticipates is that you will have to approve the ordinance doing so at 2 consecutive meetings. In other words, these amendments, what we are proposing, does not become effective unless it's approved this evening. That's just the way the statute works. And if, in fact, you do approve it this evening, then we will send copies of this to the Georgia Secretary of State, and this truly becomes part of your law. The General Assembly also has the right to do this because, again, your charter was actually drafted and approved by the General Assembly. But the home rule provisions do allow us to modify it locally. So with respect to Section 3.22, this pertained to some language about how you prepare your agendas. That is very granular to be in your charter. Really, it's too much detail, and so my recommendation working with your city staff was that what we really need to have is just have that done by local ordinance, and all your charter needs to say is that the agenda will be prepared pursuant to internal rules that you adopt and prepare at the local level. Your charter doesn't need to dictate how you set up your agenda. We want maximum flexibility for that. So if you were to approve this, we have now basically said that the agenda for each meeting shall include the business items submitted pursuant to those internal rules of city-county procedures duly adopted by the mayor and council. And in fact, I believe, Ms. Inglis, at the next meeting or the next one after that, we have those changes coming to you, should you be comfortable with this. The next section we are modifying is Section 7.18, which is the mandatory charter commission. This was something that I think you found, or at least I saw, in most of the the new cities that occurred in 2006, Johns Creek, Milton, Sandy Springs, etc., requiring that for every 5 years they would have to assemble a charter commission. The charter commission met, walked through the charter, made recommendations, and then those recommendations either went to the council for modification by way of home rule or more likely went to the General Assembly so the charter could be modified itself. So for a new city, my respectful evaluation, having a mandatory 5-year let's review the charter from stem to stern makes some good sense. Like anything that's put down on paper, once you actually give it a road test, sometimes there need to be some modifications to it to make it work better. And we have done that. We did that in, I'm thinking off the top of my head here, but around 2011 and around 2016, those were done and action taken accordingly. And I believe I was part of both of those, and so I know what those look like. However, you're what I would call a mature municipality now. You all have been around a long time. You have a good culture. You've got a good way of conducting your official business. I don't see, and again, I'm not the final arbiter, but I don't see anything systemically wrong or challenging with your charter except these issues that we're modifying here on your agenda. So what we have done is draft some language that rather than have a mandatory every 5 years thou shalt, we simply have language that says the mayor and city council may, when deemed necessary, call for a charter commission to review the city's experience and recommend to the General Assembly or city council, as appropriate, any changes to the city charter. The mayor and city council, when calling for a charter commission, may provide limitations as to those portions of the charter that are to be reviewed. So you always have the right to amend your charter, as we are doing now. You have the right to summon together a charter commission and have them take a stem to stern look. All this would really do would be to shut down the mandatory this shall happen every 5 years. That's what this does. That's my presentation, Mr. Mayor. The council, I think, has heard this before. If you adopt this evening, it does become effective. operative, then send it to the state.
Okay, I'll open up any questions for Ken. Laura?
I have a question. For the other cities that have had charter commissions that are young, is that about the same? Have they also taken this move to not mandate the every 5 years? I don't expect you to know all the other cities, but have you worked with any city where this has been done, and in what time frame?
Right. A good question, Councilmember Bentley, and I don't know, and so I don't want to act like I do and
Okay.
say something wrong. I'm not sure. And I could probably find it out by looking at their charter quickly and seeing if they've taken this out, but I could not on the fly tell you.
As I recall in our last one, it was a lot of housekeeping items, and I don't expect anyone to remember that from 2016, but I'm just trying to remember if it was anything of significance. We usually hear about those things way sooner than 5 years. So
I recall it well.
the same.
It was housekeeping item.
Okay, thank you.
Yes? Joe?
So, Ken, I agree with everything that you said. We could probably have a great debate over whether or not, the city of Milton at, 10 plus years is a mature city and what makes a mature city, right?
Fair.
But I would agree that we've been operating long enough that any serious flaws would have been identified and we would have been able to react to those by now, okay? The thing that I think we lose by dismissing the requirement for a charter commission is that it doesn't give us any compulsion to take a look when things are going okay. It's not that, it's only when things go okay that you have the time to take a look at, what would you change if you could change? But a lot of times, and gosh, the last 18 months may be a good example of this, there is a dramatic change in how people think about what government is and what government needs to do that could benefit from some citizen input to this whole process. When we take out the Charter Commission, what we're really doing is we're saying that the council then is in charge of making sure that any reviews that need to take place, and any modifications that need to be made are going to be made, right, if they're required. But it doesn't give us an opportunity to have engaged citizens take a look and say, you know what? This was great in 2015, but it's really not appropriate today, or we could do better than this, and we ought to think about tweaking it this way or that. So it's not so much that we need to have it, it's that we lose this opportunity to, it's sort of like hitting the snooze bar, right, on your alarm clock. Yeah, I know it went off at 7, but I really don't need to be anywhere until 7:15, so I'm just going to hit the snooze bar one more time. We don't have something that is a call to action for us to review something when things are okay. We have great examples of when the wheels came off, we needed to make a change, we made the change. I'm cool with that. I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way for us to change the language that would say, rather than requiring the commission to actually meet, that the council has the opportunity to say, is this one of the years where we say we need the charter commission to meet? Or can we say, you know what, we don't have any real outstanding issues, nothing's been brought up in the last 2 years, we're good to go. You know what I mean?
I do. We didn't draft it that way. We drafted it using a lot of language you see in other statutes, basically saying when necessary. A lot of statutes say that when the government believes it's necessary, the council believes it's necessary. So we could do that. I mean, we could, for instance, just in your realm of opportunities, you could just elongate the time period. Maybe it's not 5, maybe it's 10. Or you could have an internal rule that on the first meeting in January of every year, The council will have as a mandatory agenda item, do we need a charter commission this year? You could do it that way. This would give you, what is in the charter right now, the proposed language gives you maximum flexibility, but if you wanted, as a council, to still have an internal rule that says, thank you in the charter, that's great, because the charter is our skeleton. It controls us. It's huge. But if you wanted to have sort of a lesser order, like an ordinance, that said, we hereby shall have an agenda item on the necessity for the appointment of a charter commission at least once annually or once biannually, you could still do that, and that would be consistent with this language. In other words, Councilman Longoria, if you're saying, this may make some sense, but I still want us to have the discipline, because I think you're almost taking the position out of sight, out of mind. If we never have to think about it again, we'll never think about it again.
Right. That's exactly what I mean.
And
the thinking about it won't come from an engaged citizenry. It'll come from the people that are essentially being managed by the very document that they would consider changing.
So with respect to the agenda, my recommendation was to you take how you put your agenda together out of the charter and merely make the charter reference something you do locally by way of an ordinance. Why couldn't you do the same here? Take the mandatory 5 years out of here, but then if you all want to adopt we shall consider a charter commission every year, or at least have it on an agenda, you could do that if that is a concern that you're having. I'll throw that up there.
I may add to that, which, to your point, Joe, that makes sense. And I think that's technically what we can do at any point. From what I understand, we can bring that back up. But maybe that's a win-win scenario where, once a year, say once a year, once every 2 years. Right now it's every 5 years, but where we just have a tickler that basically it's on the agenda. Hey, we're going to have a short discussion. Everything good. Everything's fine. Don't take any action. Don't have a charter revision. That way, from the citizen side, if it's on our agenda and there's citizens that are, really concerned about something, they have an opportunity to bring that up then, and then the council can discuss that. Okay, we've gotten all this feedback. We feel at this point, we probably should have a charter commission review this year. If that makes sense. Is that kind of what you're...
Yeah, actually, I think that's a good backup, because it would allow us to, it would compel us to put that on our agenda every year or every 2 years instead of every 5 years, and it probably would have a better outcome for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to support maybe every 2 years or whatever, have that come up, and that way if everything's going fine and the public's happy and whatnot, it's it's not a big deal, and if there are some things that come out, just like it kind of publicizes it, there's an opportunity to speak on it. If there are some issues we'd want to change, I'd say the future councils would want to address them anyways. Paul, do you have?
I do. I have a question for Ken, then I have a comment. Ken, is the path to the decision to assemble a charter commission that is then, the way we're constructing it now, like a majority vote of council that would initiate that action then after it's prompted on our agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that being the case, so we're still sort of self-governing to get to the point of the choice to create a charter commission. I'm not quite sure I buy into the argument that it needs to be more frequent than it is today. If 5 years has served us well and that's typical of a charter commission formulation, why would we need to shorten that timeline? Is there any comment, Ken, as to why we would choose to go more frequent than if 5 years is a typical format and has served us well? Anyway, I can see the understanding of importance of putting it on as a prompter for us, but I don't understand why we would be interested in shortening the timeline.
The only distinction I see is that the 5 year has been a benchmark for mandatory.
Yeah.
So 5 years, we must put one together, whereas since it's discretionary, it's just an exercise in being purposeful. That's the best I've got. I mean, I understand Councilman Longoria's policy position. I do understand it. The temporal debate is purely for the council. Just how often do you think it needs to bubble to the top for you to sort of be, have the citizen engagement that Council Member Longoria and the mayor are talking about? My concern was, and I'll just tell you, these charter commissions, and having been a part of 2 of them, they're a lot of work, and that's not. I'm not saying that's not a good thing, the work, but I'm simply saying I don't think the city should do something simply because the charter says do it when it's that much effort, when you have the right to do it anyway, and can do it when the council believes, based upon citizen feedback or community, support, you need to do it. It just, I agree with you, Councilmember Longoria. We can, of course, debate mature municipalities, but I do think that you are a sober, upright, good faith jurisdiction, is my point.
No, I get that. I agree.
And I like that point too, because let's face it, and I know there's some discussion, well, are we a board governing on ourselves with our charter? But I think we've, proven over the years that citizen input we take serious.
Very serious.
So if there is an issue, I think part of the problem, and I know our legislators have recommended for the last several years that we take it out, and that actually we're planning on doing that. But certainly as we talked in our meetings and whatnot, we wanted to do it local so it's more transparent. I do think that, part of the problem, if you just have it arbitrarily every 5 years, it's the old saying, sometimes people will try to fix something that's not broken. Obviously, if you set up a charter commission and whatnot, and you're tasked with something, you're going to make some changes. It's kind of like lawyers, how one of them will look at something and one of them's got to change something else just because they can bill. I'm kidding. But so my point, I kind of like this discussion where we're at, that, and maybe it is somewhere, 5 years is what we had, and maybe it's somewhere between 1 to 5 years or whatever. But on the flip side, as Ken says, we have the ability at any point to engage a charter commission. And I think with our citizenry and their involvement, if there are some issues, they're going to bring them to us, and we're certainly going to take heed to that and request one. So I'm kind of open anywhere in between there.
I think, Joe, I think that 1 to 2 years is overkill for certain in my mind. I would be fine with anything north of 2 years, whether it's 3, 4, 5 becomes immaterial. It shouldn't exceed 5, but I think 3, 4, 5 would accommodate my take on it.
Yeah, and I see it a little differently, because what we would be moving to is the option for, not the requirement of. And so the option, having the option on the agenda as a decision that we need to make every year, that's no big deal. In a year where we don't need to worry about it, it takes us, 5 minutes on the agenda to vote for it. So it's not like it's got a real cost. But yet it makes us think about it. And it gives our citizens an opportunity to say, you know what? This has been bugging me for a while. I know that meeting's coming up in January. I'm going to be there to let them hear why I think we should do this year. So I think having it on somewhere in an agenda every year makes some sense. But we don't have to vote on that tonight because that's not on the agenda. What we need to vote on is whether or not we're going to take it out of the charter.
That's correct.
Anybody else have any?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get on. I having been so involved in the CPAC this year, I feel like we have so many different mechanisms for our citizens to engage. I don't hear, that many comments about wanting to change the structure of our city. So I'm comfortable with this, and especially with, the police chief's advisory council, all of these different mechanisms for our citizens to plug in. I, like everyone on council, is all about making sure that our citizens have every opportunity to be engaged, but I'm comfortable. I don't get a lot of feedback about wanting to change the skeleton of our city. So that's my comment.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, I'll open up for a motion. of some sort.
So prior to making a motion, Stephen, would it be possible for us to get that on a future agenda where we could discuss how do we give ourselves this option of talking about, do we need to review the charter at least once a year?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, I'll open up for motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 21-026 with the direction to also have a future agenda to discuss the review of the charter.
How would you word
Councilmember
this?
Bentley, may I respectfully interject, and here's
Yeah.
what I would request. I would request, I'm perfectly comfortable with this being done this evening, that second portion, but we've got to send these minutes down to the Secretary of State, so I would
Okay.
request respectfully just one vote on the ordinance, and then if we need to do another motion on putting the charter review on a future agenda, I'm perfectly comfortable with that, but I would ask for two.
Okay. All right. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 21-026.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion for approval from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Moore. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. And then, other than, give staff direction to bring it back, or do do we need to formalize this, Ken, as you said?
I don't think we need to formalize it. I mean, I don't want to take away the option, Laura, if you're intent on doing that. If it was directed at me, I'm cool with having staff come back to us at a future date so that we can talk about it, and at least it'll be published as an agenda item and people can comment on it.
Yeah. Do we need to make a motion, though,
No,
to
ma'am.
do that? That's just an action item that we'll see it on a future
City manager will
agenda.
bring it back. I'm very comfortable with that.
That's great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good discussion. All right, we'll move on to new business. Tammy, if you'll please.
Yes, that item is consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Persis Biryani Indian Grill, located at 631 North Main Street in Milton, 3004. Agenda item number 21051. Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Thank you, Tammy. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So what you have before you tonight is a license for a new owner. This has been an existing establishment. They just have a new owner, and they have to get a new license because of the new ownership. This is for wine and malt beverage and Sunday sales. The applicant has met all of the legal requirements to get this license, and the staff recommendation is for approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions on this item? Do we have any public comment on this?
We do not.
Okay, all right, I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve agenda item number 21-051.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Longoria, and I believe a motion from the second from Councilmember Morag. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to reports. Is there anything council wants to report on? Paul?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to report about an experience that I had this week that was a very positive one. Via the Milton website and social media, it was advertised that we have a couple of staff members that are offering assistance to the senior community, to which I now unfortunately qualify. And with regard to COVID assistance and managing the perils of all the things that are before us, as we're in particular right now seeking vaccines. So in the fact that I had personally experienced a lot of toil and trouble trying to find a vaccine for myself, I thought, well, I'll call the helpline and see what the experience is, both for me personally and what our consumers, our citizens might experience. And I can't tell you how pleased I am to be able to report what a positive experience it was. I interacted with Milton Fireman Christopher Say, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And he was nothing less than spectacular in the offering of guidance he was able to provide to me. The city doesn't provide vaccines, but he happened to be a resource as to somewhere that did have vaccines available. I ended up driving to Rome, Georgia to get my vaccine, but it would not have happened without the guidance provided by him. So it was a spectacular experience for me personally. He was very helpful, and I applaud the effort that we are making as a city and Christopher's efforts in particular to serve my needs.
Sounds good. Anybody else? Okay. We'll move on to staff and start with community development.
Hey, Joe, can I one more quick thought?
Absolutely, Paul.
I would just point out, Christopher did not know that I was a city councilman. So the experience that I had was as if calling in, which I still think of myself as any, but he was just providing terrific service to another citizen of Milton.
That says a lot for you, Paul.
That's good that he
didn't know you were councilman. Really out there. No, I'm
I
kidding.
subject myself to all the ridicule that comes with that, but
You got to work on your PR. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick update of the section. We just got a couple of little things. So what we're going to do is it's a quick section update, and then we're trying to do something I call like around the town. So we're just going to take some video, not video, but slides of different projects that are occurring so that you can kind of see the progress of all of these little areas. So we're going to just kind of go around the city. So just to kind of keep you up to date on progress. So the first thing is our Planner 1 is starting March 1st. Just wanted you to know that that's going to be extremely helpful in our section. CPAC, we did have a meeting recently on that. And so we gave you the updates, but so that was the updates there. We're going to be doing additional informational videos we're sending out this week on form-based code, which the CPAC committee requested. So we're trying to send out informational material to the CPAC board ahead of time so that when we do the next meetings, they'll be more like, I'm going to call it 80-20, where they talk 80% and staff only needs to do 20% because we've given it to them ahead of time. I think that will be a good addition to those meetings, get more feedback. We have the February 25th CPAC meeting is next week. We have a community educational session tomorrow, so that just so that everybody knows. Plots and permits volumes are really high. We're still getting quite a bit. There's still a lot of applications coming in, and I just want you to know that we're up to date on all of them. We're really meeting all our thresholds and metrics. So what's happening? We have Arbor Day, which you just did. Our arborists want to come up for anything? Basically, we have they're planting a Chinese fringe tree. They have the phase 3, which is occurring at the Arboretum, adding additional signage trees along the natural trail, and they're updating the interactive Arboretum map. So that's nice to do there. Glass recycling. You want to come up quick? Teresa's been really working hard on glass recycling, so we're just going to give you a little update on what we're doing with glass recycling.
So just a quick update, Mayor and Council. Several years ago, the materials recovery facilities nationwide banned glass from the single stream recycling. Because of this, it meant that glass could no longer be put in the bin with the other recyclables at the curbside, making it very inconvenient. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that glass can be recycled over and over, so it was a real loss to have a lot of people not be able to recycle at the curbside. At this point, some residents would discard their glass in their household trash, and others began taking their glass to the Roswell Recycling Center. Fast forward to March of 2020 when COVID forced the closing of many businesses and municipal facilities, including the Roswell Recycling Center. After some months, I'm sure you're all aware, because I'm sure you've heard from residents, the center did reopen, but participation has been restricted to Roswell residents only. For now, Milton residents who wish to recycle their glass can take it to the Keep North Fulton Beautiful Recycling Center in Sandy Springs. And while I am immensely grateful that we at least have that option at this time, you can well imagine that driving glass down to Sandy Springs has become a deal breaker for many of our residents. We've been seeking a more convenient option for our residents ever since. So in the summer of 2020, a couple of local high school students came to the city via Councilmember Jameson with a proposal to partner with a glass recycler to offer a drop-off location for glass in Milton. The glass recycler was offering us a dumpster along with associated hauling for no charge. All we needed to do was find a location that could work. But that's actually turned out to be harder than it sounds. City staff have looked at city assets as well as private options. The original plan that was brought to us by the students would actually have the dumpster located at the high school, but that option has been put on hold indefinitely because the schools have, quite frankly, a lot bigger fish to fry right now. So we have, as I say, a variety of options. We believe that we're considering. We think we have some good ones. Right now, staff are working with legal regarding an agreement between the city and the recycler. So this update is just to tell you that we feel like we're really close to having a local option for glass drop-off in the city of Milton. And as I say, I know you've heard from your constituents, and we have heard from them, and it's something we take very seriously, and we've been working hard on. And it just turns out it's not been super easy to solve, but we're really close. So, thank you.
Teresa, could we consider a fire station? I guess you're thinking about that.
We've got some good locations. We're trying to get them geographically dispersed across the city. But we think we've got some locations settled.
Great. That's very exciting. And I know you're thinking of everything. And
I'm sorry that I had my back to you. I forget that y'all are down here now. And I'm sorry about that.
You know, thank you for doing that. I know we all have heard the need, but I also know there's more to it involved with getting a location and whatnot. I remember we had a remote location for aluminum cans, which at a fire station, which sounds great, but what was happening, people were dumping stuff there, dumping the sides, going to the neighbor's yard. So you have to be, you know, it's one thing you have a recycling center and you're monitoring it, but if you have a dumpster somewhere and it's self-policed, there could be a lot of other trash thrown in there too, I'm sure.
And that's a really important point, that if the recyclables are contaminated, then they're useless. So that makes it a bigger problem. So, right.
And our website pages are being updated, and we're creating new links and trying to make it more user-friendly for the community to visit the website and navigate through ComDev. There's quite a bit of stuff, all the different activities that are going on, so we're really working with the rest of the city staff. We have Courtney, Jen, everybody's been helping us out to try to really, pull this website together and make it just nice, consistent, user-friendly between departments and whatnot, so that really worked out nice. And when we're done with that, I'll give you an update on that. All right, so just a quick around Milton. You want to step up too? So just around Milton, I have Tracy put this together. So you want to give a quick around Milton?
Absolutely. So Lakeside at Crabapple, the final plat for this project was approved late last year. But to date, they have submitted 23 active building permits, 7 of which we have issued, and there are 7 that are under construction right now. So they are really, they are fast tracking this project. They're moving, and there's a lot of activity out there. We visit the site. Josh Rogers, our inspector, goes out, and so they're really, you're beginning to see that project really come to life. So that's Lakeside at Crabapple. Our next plat, this plat for Deer Haven Preserve, which is on Freemanville Highway, between the two entrances of White Columns. It was approved late last year as well. It was our larger lot plat, and they have actually sold 3 lots. Building 3, or Lot 3, is under construction right now. And I would encourage all of you to just stop and ride through there. They've done a nice job on some elements. Their gas lanterns are really, it's just a great look. So it's been neat to watch this development come to life. The next plat, again, that was approved late last fall was Crossroads at Birmingham. There's been some change in their project updates. They have secured a new architect. They've also secured a new landscape contractor. And, of course, we talked, in the last council meeting about the proposed medical building on the corner. I visited the site yesterday, and they have actually began form structure on 2 of the lots. So we should see a lot of activity really over the next couple of weeks at Crossroads.
Robin, do you want to give an update on the winery?
Good evening. So just want to give you an update. I know many of you were interested in the status of the Painted Horse and Winery. It's a situation where our city attorney met with the property owner's attorney and basically came to a conclusion of wanting them to come to agreement to submit some use permit applications by, I think it was January 30th. With that said, that did not happen, but I've been in weekly, almost daily contact with with Pam's attorney, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and they are working very hard to get it in for this next cycle. So what they're going to be looking to submit is a rural event facility that would allow weddings, corporate events, etc. The second use permit would be agriculturally related activities, which I don't think we've ever done that in the history of the city, but that includes the summer camps, the birthday parties, the horse painting, kind of the kids stuff. I kind of put it all together there. And lastly, the festivals or events, outdoor, indoor, which would encompass the concerts that occur on the property. So that's similar to what Matilda's had been granted a couple of years ago. So again, they've hired Kimley Horn to do their land planning. I'm familiar with them. They're great. So it's going to come in. It's going to be exactly what we need them to do. And if they get it in, I'm very hopeful that they will by next week. The deadline, the series of meetings would be the CZIM March 23rd. And then, I don't know why I'm looking up here. It's right here. Sorry. The Design Review Board is April 13th. The Planning Commission is April 28th. And then it would come to you for a final decision if there are no deferrals at Planning Commission on June 7th. So just wanted to let you know that they're working hard with staff, and I feel really confident that they will submit a quality application that we would like to see. So anyway. Also, I've been involved with is Bloom, which I know everybody's been anticipating opening over across from Bell Memorial Park. The building itself is pretty much done as far as the interior finishes. They just are finishing up their parking lot, and they had, hopefully once the parking lot is done, we can wrap it up and they can be open for business very soon. So just want to let you know about that.
Oh, Armor. Yeah.
It's Bob's building.
Yeah, that's your trees.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, we had the public safety complex was finished in August, and it was blazing hot. So I convinced Bob to hold off on planting the trees, and we actually waited until January, February, when it was a better time to plant the trees. So the trees are in, and they look great. The pictures don't do it justice yet because the leaves are not on yet, but when it blooms in the spring, it'll look even better. And just to give you an idea of the trees that were planted out there, there's some American holly crepe myrtle, willow oak, red maple, trident maple, London plane tree, Princeton elm, which is a variety of the American elm, red bud, and Foster holly. So these trees are going to give us some great fall color too, a variety of golden yellows and reds. So it'll look really nice in the spring and in the fall.
Okay.
It's quite an array of trees. I need to explain that to you all. But I think it's going to really give the final touch to that complex. Okay, Station 42, just a quick update. The demolition contract was on the street, so it's out there. We're waiting for some asbestos removal to be done in the existing building, and once that's done, all the utilities have been disconnected. The building will come down. We did order a sign to put out there to notify the general public. On the 3-1 council meeting, you'll see just a change order to Universal for this project, Universal Engineering. It's a no-cost change order. We're just trying to get them to analyze the soil shear, and if we can get that in our favor, I think it will save the city a whole lot of money on reducing some of those code requirements that we'd have to do. So we're going through that exercise. So that's looking pretty good. We're also working with the adjoining neighbor who's purchased the property recently. It's a nice track. It wraps all around this lot, and we're trying to work with him to utilize some of his land for a septic leaching field, which would help us. The original thought was to bring it all the way down to Bell. That's what we always anticipated. But if he steps up and we're working with him, if he's willing to give it to us again, that would save us a whole lot of money. And he'd be willing to do it. And we'll maintain it, but at least it'll save us the money of bringing it down there. Okay. The other project, Milton Country Club, I finalized all my review of the contract documents, did all my redlining. So as soon as the designers incorporate all my comments on this final iteration, then we'll go to pricing, and then we'll go into construction. So I guess in short, by late spring, we'll see this building under construction. I'm really hoping to get it done as soon as I can, because I'd like to get the bathrooms open so we don't have to standing order. Got to get the bathrooms done. So I promised Steve I would concentrate on doing that. So we're pushing on this one. But it'd be nice by summer we should have this open. Of course, I don't have a name for this facility. I think we're working on that. But so same thing with the Lake Park. Any names? Any names? All right. All right. This one I just wanted you to know. This one's the Strawberry Fields right here on the roundabout. You can see those two buildings. Building 1 and 2 are actually constructed. I just want everybody to know that March 1st. Which is rapidly approaching the Starbucks on the lower level of the left building, will be open, and we're going to have a grand opening on that. And the other floors are sold, and they're just trying to get into a closing mode on those, so we'll have those starting to get occupied. Those will be businesses, so we'll be bringing more employment into the area, which I'm really looking forward to. And then the other building, of course, the second floor has got a restaurant, so that's already been taken up too. So we're really working hard to maximize these and get them open. And then the last slide is I did an inspection on the Orkin downtown here, and I'd say within about 45 days he should be complete. All his work will be done, and then just the tenant build-outs will start. Which he told me, they're going to come right in after he's done. There's a lot of really neat stuff going on here. We have a lot of outdoor fire pits and fireplaces. We have second-story dining. We have a lot of nice plazas. Of course, we've got the parking garage. So there's a whole bunch of a lot of plazas between those mixed-use buildings. All those buildings on the left of the curve, the top left. Right. These buildings here are mixed-use buildings, so they're retail on the ground floor and two stories residential above. These are buildings where we're looking to maybe potentially do a brewery with an outdoor fire pit and some lights, second-story dining. This here is a whole big plaza in here with another fireplace coming across here. These are just one-story buildings. They look like they look two, but they're really one. They're just real high. And then, of course, the parking deck is in the back, so you can access it directly from here. So Orkin also, the city put in 3 crosswalks along Heritage, and Orkin voluntarily agreed to put in the 4th crosswalk right in this area here, and he's constructed that crosswalk. He's also expressed a lot of interest in taking care of this roundabout from a landscape perspective and all of this median along Heritage on both sides of the street, because he wants to keep a consistent look. So we're working with him now to do that, and he's looking to enhance and put more landscaping and really kind of dress that up. So Heritage would look very nice. I wanted to make sure in front of City Hall it always looks like it's, the best it could look. So that's, I believe, my last slide, and I just wanted to give you a quick update. So each month when I do it, I'll give you different areas and show you what's going on. Okay. That's it.
Thanks, Bob. And,
any questions?
Yep.
Good.
Thank you, and Tracy and Robin, too, for your presentation. So, Tom, next for Parks and Rec.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to start with some new additions to the department. We have hired a Parks and Recreation specialist. Her name is Emily Groth. She lives locally, but recently worked in Aiken, South Carolina, as an athletic coordinator over there. Brings a lot of passion and knowledge for outdoor recreation, too. So she's got a lot of skill that's going to really boost the department. And also thank Mayor I'm excited to work with Ms. Tucker on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Out at the parks, we've got a new lightning detection system out at Bell Memorial Park and Cox Road. Cox Road did not have one previously, and we upgraded the one at Bell Memorial Park for the safety of our participants out there. And we're also working with Community Outreach and GIS. We're looking to remark and map the trails out at Birmingham Park. Going on to programming, Camp Joyful Souls. Preparations are underway and in full swing already for the special needs summer camp. Registration's already open, and we have 20 kids registered. Those 20 kids equal 87 registrations already. So the registration's going very well there. As far as winter basketball goes, we had roughly 600 games scheduled, and only 26 were not played due to COVID-related reasons. So overall, we got the vast majority of our winter basketball season in. Our basketball program worked extremely hard to make sure the gyms and the participants were safe. They were, sanitizing the entire gymnasium before each game. The gym was empty. Their staff went through, wiped everything down before they let anyone else back in. So I was very proud that our winter basketball went so well. As far as spring sports go, all of our spring athletics started end of January, early February. Baseball has over 800 kids back in baseball again. That's where they were last spring, and we're still in the pandemic. So very happy there. And next time you look at Bell Memorial Park, you might notice on one of the turf fields we've actually got a fence to be able to play baseball on a portion of one of the rectangular fields to help accommodate baseball, not only for their growth, but also to give them access to turf that the other sports get. Boys and girls lacrosse, they're a tick over 500 players, which is also pre-COVID numbers again. So that's great. As far as adult programming goes, winter soccer, they're trying to wrap up. We allowed them to go over to Bell Memorial Park for the turf fields when youth sports weren't happening. So we've moved them back over to Cox, and all this weather has really caused a lot of cancellations, but they've got a couple games left. We'll get them in. And then the spring adult soccer is going to be kicking up in the next 6 weeks or so. Any questions?
No. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, appreciate it.
Exciting.
Thanks.
All right, next, David, IT. RIS.
Tell you what, I think I need to be like Bob and bring visuals with me. I'm always impressed. I just got to think of something to put in a visual. All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll start off with the ever-loved stats. Our average number of tickets has been about 44 tickets being opened every week and about 45 tickets being closed every week. So that's a little over 100% closure, and that's bringing the queue down. Right now, we're about 29 tickets. So that's all of information services. That's IT and GIS. So it's looking really good in the queue right now. Also, the average response time and resolution times on all the tickets were under the service level agreement. So very happy with the team there. On project levels, we're just doing continuing improvement, just like we've always done. We're working on network redundancy. We're expanding our VMware licensing to enterprise. Actually, we did that just last month. So we're building up our network management capabilities so we can monitor better, we can manage better, and fix better. We're going to a new backup system as well. We're going to a product called Veeam, which is going to be replacing our Barracuda backup system, which we've had for quite a long time. But we're happy with the way the Veeam works. It's got some improvements over Barracuda, so we're looking forward to seeing how that works as well. And also employing some new security measures. Netrix will be coming online pretty soon for network auditing, security, and so on. So always improving on that as well. One thing I've been working on recently, too, is records management, circling around to the Laserfish system, which I'm sure you've all heard me talk about before. We're bringing in more historical records from when the city was first incorporated, and adding new records as well, and adding more GIS functionality too. So that's one thing we're moving forward on a constant basis, and making more available to the public as well. So we'll have more updates on that as time goes on. And finally, just want to just let you know about our team. We lost Robert Bond back in December. We've actually got two new members on the team, Nico Smith, who joined us, I think it was in November. And he's been like the Energizer Bunny. He just works his tail off and gets tickets done. He gets in there. He's making progress. And just this last month, we brought on Caleb Caro, who comes to us with an IT background working for the Department of Defense. He's been with a couple of contractors, both on the federal and the state level, and also been in the National Guard at Fort Benning. So he's got quite a lot of talent there. The whole team has talent. John Royer, who's been with us for I think almost a year now. He's also got a military background. He comes to us from the Marines with an IT focus back then. So very happy with the team we have right now. Looking forward to kind of building them up, giving them the resources they need. They definitely got the talent, and looking forward to what we can do with them this year. So, any questions?
Any questions for David? All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Despite the effects of the pandemic on our events, the community outreach team, as part of the communications department and with support from all the departments and our Milton citizens, has continued to work on a number of projects. You heard about some of them tonight: community development, Parks and Rec. But I want to take just an opportunity to thank our team for being so flexible, creative, and excellent to work with. Their commitment is evident in all the projects that we've worked on. In November, since we last met, in November, instead of our regular Veterans Day breakfast, which we normally have here in council chambers, we pivoted and had a social media campaign, including posts of Milton employees who are veterans. It was well received. One is actively serving abroad now, and so it was great to introduce those employees to the residents they serve and celebrate their service to our country. In December, we had a lot of pivoting to do. Tricia Wolf, one of our special event coordinators, worked with Sarah in economic development to support the Holiday Shop Milton event to boost support of those businesses. Thanks to Santa Claus and Mayor Lockwood. We were able to film our annual tree lighting and present that on social media. We also added Santa reading the night before Christmas. Instead of pancakes with Santa, we had Get Fired Up, Santa's Coming to Milton, where Santa visited various neighborhoods in a fire truck escorted by the police. So it was great to work with police and fire on that project and create a new event which probably will stick, COVID or not. It was well received. We also helped Shabbat of North Fulton hold their menorah lighting at Broadwell Pavilion. They had a limited event with a small number of people, and so we helped continue that tradition, also with a virtual engagement portion. And then we continue working with our village volunteers, our special needs group that meets weekly, hosted by, we host it, but Diane Stewart, a volunteer Milton resident, runs it. And as part of their Christmas celebration, Anita Jupin, our other special events coordinator, coordinated the creation of a recipe book with all the recipes that they had made when they could meet in person, created that book, presented it, printed it, and presented it to them to be distributed, which they appreciated. We continue to work, of course, on the comprehensive plan and improve and increase engagement on that, encouraging all Milton residents to engage virtually and provide input at our community education sessions. Then our team is also working on making Milton's special events permit process more streamlined and collaborating with all departments to improve the process. The Milton Equestrian Committee, which is meeting right now across the way, elected a new chair at the beginning of the year, Tony Rich, and they are reviewing tonight their 2021 goals and priorities. And there are countless other ways. We are behind the scenes and helping with the event and engagement portion of every project with every department as much as we can. So through phone calls, emails, social media, of course, Zoom and Teams, we have worked to ensure continued engagement with our community in as many aspects as possible. Our upcoming events are still to be determined, but we are in the early planning stages for Crabapple Fest in October. Real Crabapple Fest, in person on the street, with some changes if need be, but I hope not too many. And again, continuing to work with all of our departments. Thank you, as always, for your time, trust, and attention.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks. Yeah.
Appreciate all the updates. And if anybody has anything else or any comments, if not, that will conclude our regular meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that's unanimous. Thank you, guys.